Here we ruddy go. You know it's the international break when this comes up again.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
What's poppin', people? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that financial fair play, the sexiest of all footballing subjects, profit and sustainability rules, of course, is the hot topic at the moment because Forest have had their 4-point deduction after Everton had their 10 reduced to 6, I believe, and they might get another punishment, Everton. It's all popping off. Chelsea did not fall foul of financial fair play or profit and sustainability rules the last financial year. They just about scraped it, and apparently that's because the way the Mason Mount pure profit sale was accounted for, it wasn't for this year, it was for the previous year, and therefore it gave Chelsea a massive financial boost. Of course, I'm referencing Simon Jordan and Stefan Borson talking on TalkSport. Financial expert Stefan Borson. This guy, I hope you won't mind me saying, is a colossal so-and-so. I looked at it. Apparently, if you swear early in a YouTube video, it's really bad. So I saw I'm still early doors. Didn't want to say it. Yes, they spoke about Chelsea. They spoke about Man City. This guy was in investment banking, was a consultant or something for Man City. He was an advisor, I believe, for Manchester City, and I believe he's a Man City fan, and is very biased when it comes to slagging off other clubs, but very, very resilient in his defense of Man City. But he does say Man City's charges against him is the biggest, and it will be like monumental, but I feel like he thinks probably they will just get away with it. But there's not allegations against Man City. Man City have been charged. They're not like allegations like, no, 115 charges of systemic, I guess, cooking the books for a decade, essentially. And I don't think that's necessarily up for debate in terms of how they've worked things. You know, remember Der Spiegel, the German newspaper in investigative journalism sector, with all the leaked emails that were just like, look, here's evidence, Man City's been cheating for a long, long time, and that got thrown out by CAS for the Premier League to look at how they've been operating for, and this isn't about Man City, by the way, it's just because it came up on that TalkSport video, look, a couple of things. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Man City, of course, have been operating in this way, if they found a way to, you know, fund their project in advantageous ways, then they might have done it. But it equally wouldn't surprise me at all if they just get it thrown out by their financial muscle. I believe there's a quote by one of the City officials that said, we'd rather, you know, bury FIFA in the courtrooms with spending, you know, infinite amounts of money on lawyers and whatnot. Because remember, Man City are a state-backed club. They have infinite funds. So they could, I mean, it shouldn't work like this, but they could just make the Premier League recoil in an attempt to get them done. Anyway, we're going to talk about Chelsea today. Thanks for joining me. Please do consider supporting the content simply by liking and subscribing. I'd be very interested, as always, as we go to read your comments. Sit down at the desk style today, a little bit more of, I guess, a podcast style format, rather than in the office. Of course, I alternate between two formats of content. Excuse me. So, yes, very, very interesting indeed. I just to end on Man City, I do feel like they'll get away with it. And they've had that boost into generating massive revenue. It's sort of by the by now. They'll get away with it. They won't need to bend rules anymore because they've got a leg up. Chelsea did the same thing when we were taken over by Roman Abramovich, but we weren't breaking rules. But we were injecting capital and finances in through Roman Abramovich to give us the elevation into the higher echelons of the Premier League in terms of, you know, organic revenue, branding and all that kind of stuff. But Chelsea weren't breaking, the rules weren't implemented then. The rules have since been implemented when, you know, supposedly Man City have been doing it. I know for a fact that the new Chelsea ownership want to do everything by the book and adhere by the rules, much like Liverpool have taken great pride on like we're going to do everything kosher by the book, no, creative accounting as it's sometimes called. And I believe the new Chelsea owners very much want to do that. They, of course, have been very, very transparent with the FA, the Premier League, and indeed UEFA. Of course, the biggest and best demonstration of that would be the self-reporting of the financial irregularities from the previous tenure, from the the aforementioned Roman Abramovich era. They saw some stuff that they believe wasn't 100%, by the rules. So they were like, let's tell teacher, let's go and make sure and be like, look guys, this has happened. We just want to let you know. Of course, I think the new Chelsea, I'm speculating to a degree here, but I think probably the new Chelsea owners have come in with their eyes open. Remember, there was that interview with Todd Bowley before he even got Chelsea, I believe, or his consortium bought Chelsea, when he said, look, financial fair play is starting to show its teeth. Very, very lucid and aware coming into it. And they would have known about this huge story with Der Spiegel and Manchester City, and they're like, yeah, this is not the way to do things. The governing bodies are really, really on it now. Do you know what I mean? So no messing around. So they've come in like that. So that would make you think, surely, don't call me Shirley, Chelsea will not fall foul of financial fair play. God, that alliteration. Whereas Simon Jordan and Stefan Borson both fear Chelsea will face FFP charges next season. I believe Jordan said, and I like Simon Jordan, by the way, and I think, not that I have any particular affection for the Chelsea owners. I like the ideas, and I've always maintained my position on that. I've always said I want the infrastructure, I want the long-term planning, I want the incentive-based contracts. Long before Abramovich was forced to sell the club, I've always said that. So I like the ideas, but I've got no particular affection towards the owners because I'm still a Chelsea fan. I just don't see a reason, for that yet. I want my team to win games and trophies, and I want less chaos. I know Chelsea's always been synonymous with chaos, but I want less of it. That's the whole idea of this me wanting an infrastructure and stability that would hopefully bring less chaos and more certainty. I don't have any particular affection as it stands towards the owners, understandably, but Simon Jordan spent some time with Todd Bowley, and apparently I think he quite likes him. Of course, he was accused of cozying up with him in Qatar in the World Cup, and that's when he learned of the real reason of why Thomas Tuchel was sacked from Chelsea. Of course, he famously said on TalkSport, the real reason would make your eyes water, but that's not my story to tell, that's Todd Bowley's story to tell. Anyway, there's I think he likes the Chelsea ownership and to a degree, and I actually quite like Simon Jordan. I like how he talks. I like how he's kind of adversarial with this other guy, Stefan Borson, the Man City financial advisor, investment banking, and he just comes across as a penis. I'm sorry, he just he does. I don't want, he might be a lovely man, but there's something quite snarky about him. But often people who work in investment banking make a lot of money. Can be like this. It doesn't surprise me that he is of a Man City affiliation. The way he speaks about the charges and the operation and the operating of the club from the last decade. But yeah, I think Jordan says it's looking at the numbers and the losses, and this has been spoken about on The Athletic. Liam Twomey has gone into it in quite a lot of detail. The Chelsea correspondent of The Athletic. Chelsea are making huge operating losses. They sort of run the numbers a little bit here. They reference the fact how Mason Mount was sold in the previous financial segment or time frame or whatever, and therefore the money they'd need to generate is massive. They reference Saudi. They reference the fact how there's that sort of, it's not even a soft deadline, it's a hard deadline of the June the 30th before that financial window closes. The transfer window will remain open past that deadline, financial deadline. But for Chelsea to not fall foul of financial fair play, they'd need to sell what they believe is generate a lot of money. Of course, if Chelsea make all their pure profit sales, and that is, of course, the money will haul 28 million, 30 million, that will be in the next financial period. And then obviously you speculate if they get the sale of Martin for 35, 37 million. And then if they sell the others, essentially, if they sell Chalobah, Brewer, and or maybe even Conor Gallagher, but you sell all the academy boys off, essentially, as distasteful and unpleasant as that is, that Chelsea will be fine, because that's all pure profit. And of course, that's not even selling players that aren't academy assets that they believe, you could sell. Of course, you were selling players like Kepa, Ziyech, won't bring in any money. In fact, you still make a loss. I think even though their book values reduced loads for being at the club loads a long time. It's kind of boring financial stuff with that, but in terms of they'd want to sell the academy players, and I kind of get it. A lot of Chelsea fans would immediately be like, oh God, it's ripping the heart out of the club and this, that and the other. Well, we'd hope more. Firstly, you'd hope more academy boys will come through. Your Castle Dines and Ronnie Stutters and, maybe a few more. Of course, we've seen a lot of Alfie Gilchrist, which is a fan favourite already. They are still coming through. Do you know what I mean? This is not just like suddenly all the Cobham players are gone. But they will look, the Chelsea ownership, at these academy assets as, not the ones coming through, the ones that have come through, as just massive cash opportunities to, again, make sure they don't fall foul of PSR rules after such a heavily front-loaded spend on their project. So, of course, Caicedo and Enzo, they believe will be here for a long time, and they were needed, and this, that, and the other. And also, there's probably elements of, World Cup winner, Argentina support, this sort of, I know it's a bit distasteful, but global brand awareness. But Chelsea have always been great because of that. It's certainly in the Abramovich era, and indeed before. You don't want to just be a team of English kids. You want, global and cultured stars to bring the eyes of the world. Like, Chelsea have got a massive African fan base because we've had great African players. So it's good to bring in all these, cultured players from around the world. And if you have to generate some young talents and give young football players careers, your Tomori's, your Tammy Abrahams, there's many, many more out, playing in Italy. Who else is there? There's so many. Well, you could look at Martin. Anyway, look at the players that Chelsea have developed, playing at a high level all around Europe. So that's still a good thing. Chelsea and Cobham's like a great finishing school for young players and developing and generating revenue. And of course, I don't think a lot of fans will feel uncomfortable with Martin going, because he looks like, if we had a different manager other than Pochettino, he could be a really useful, not necessarily a Malo Gusto type, but maybe, I don't know, maybe some Chelsea fans are upset with that, as well as Hall. Brewer, we'll see what happens, but I think the biggest frustration would be selling Conor Gallagher, of course. But was it today? Was it on the Totally Football Show, another athletic podcast? I think it was Matt Davis Adams. I think it was him. Forgive me, it might have been someone else on a different podcast talking about Carney Chukwuemeka, because Gallagher's been playing in this number 10 role. It was kind of an asymmetrical 4-3-3 under Pochettino, but it's becoming more and more of a number 10, a central attacking midfielder position. And when Gallagher played deeper against Leicester, he doesn't really look good in a double pivot. I understand why Pochettino played him there in that game, and I would have as well. I understand why Tuchel looked at Conor Gallagher for Thomas Tuchel's 3-4-2-1 formation, thinking he could be a double six, because he's tenacious, energy, covers space, can tackle. But he's not, for me, for an elite 4-2-3-1 position, he's not a double pivot player. And when you look at the likes of Carney Chukwuemeka playing in that number 10, he just looks like he's so much more lethal at the pointy end. Like, he'll operate in the 18-yard box offensively so much better. I thought that at the beginning of the season before he got injured, and indeed I think that now when he came off the bench and scored an excellent goal. I'd be sad to see Conor Gallagher go, but if there are serious football people at Chelsea analysing each position and how we're going to play long term, maybe they think Carney will be, much more cost effective than Conor Gallagher in terms of the, he's just signed a deal and Gallagher wants high wages, and we can make loads of money from Gallagher and not be in breach of any financial rules. I'm not saying, this is not me saying to you guys Chelsea should sell Conor Gallagher. I'm just trying to put you in the minds of the owners. So despite Stefan Borsen, Mr. Man City financial investment banking guy, saying, yeah, Chelsea will get a punishment. I think if Chelsea do believe as well, they've said this, they've briefed this multiple times, that they are in complete control of their own destiny, but it involves selling players. They think they can sell the players that they need. Maybe they're already having conversations in the background. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens there. I do think maybe next season, whether it's Pochettino or someone else, I think there'll be a bigger calm and tranquility because they would have built the squad. I feel like they would have pretty much finished the squad they wanted. They would have trimmed the fat. They would have got rid of, obviously Aubameyang, Ziyech, Lukaku's and everything. They would have seen the pure profit assets in the academy players that might make it, might not, that they can, juice the books up. They've done their amortization hack that, of course, was then curtailed and ended by UEFA in the Premier League, but they got it in. They got the long contracts in. So I think there'll be an element of, right, the sort of chaos. And I said it before, the financial pain, but in every sense, all the negativity, theoretically, or the worst of the negativity, should be front-loaded in this project of Chelsea. Well, the proof will be in the pudding, man. I ain't defending them. I'm a Chelsea fan. I want Chelsea to win. I'm not going to defend anything until it works. I'll defend the idea, but I'm not saying they're great because they're not great until they're great, if that makes sense. But the interesting thing in your headline here is that Borson and Jordan said that Chelsea will face, should they, not do this because the numbers are much bigger. Of course, like 30 million for Nottingham Forest or 25 million is massive for them. But should Chelsea be sure the numbers that they could be, that the punishment for Chelsea would be much bigger than both Everton and Nottingham Forest. And we'll have to see what happens because they're talking about by December next year. They as things stand, it's inconceivable that Chelsea won't get a big punishment. Interesting. I hope you liked my commentary and thoughts on this, reacting to that conversation of them and also offering a little bit of my personal insight and opinion on the situation. If you do dig it, let me know. Comment, like, subscribe. Thanks very much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys back here very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Peace. Ciao.